Hi there, I'm Plumb, that film critic come interviewer guy I'm hoping you've seen maybe once or twice talking to Hollywood's great and good on the internet, and I'm here today to give you 6 of my favourite lesser known horror movies to watch this Halloween time. So, this is no shade towards, say, The Shining or Psycho or, I don't know, Scream, and I really do love Scream, but I'm sort of hoping that you haven't watched any of the following, whilst also really hoping that you have. Anyway, happy spooky season, people. Movies are awesome, being scared is fun. There are loads of other worthy suggestions that I won't have time to mention, so let's do this. Oh, and you may want to take notes because I'll be mentioning a lot of films in passing as well, so pen and paper at the ready. Let's start with something light. A horror comedy, a comedy horror. Something funny with scares in it. Let's start with Tucker and Dale versus Evil. This year, Shaun of the Dead celebrated its 20th birthday, which is scary in of itself, and Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi's original What We Do in the Shadows film turned 10 years old in 2024 too. Now, you knew it was a film first before it was a TV show, right? Of course you did. You guys are great. But it always gives me great pleasure to point people towards Tucker and Dale versus Evil, a Cabin in the Woods comedy of errors that's significantly broader than, well, Cabin in the Woods, though that has its moments as well, of course. A surprisingly clever splattery slasher, TADVE as no one calls it, has a big central conceit. What if two well-meaning country bumpkin good old boys, Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk, were mistaken for hillbilly killers? Hillkillies? Killbillies? By a group of college students out camping in rural West Virginia. And so a series of bloody misunderstandings result in A, comedy, particularly from a series of accidental deaths, and B, scares, which is exactly what you want from this Sam Raimi-ish crowd pleaser, really. Oh, and it's under 90 minutes long, which is a miracle, and reason enough to recommend the film. Also, a quick shout out to 2020's Freaky, which got caught up in the lockdown release crunch and is well worth checking out. It's directed by Happy Death Day's Christopher Landon, and it stars the exceptionally talented up-and-comer Catherine Newton, Ant-Man 3, Abigail, 3 Billboards, as well as Vince Vaughn. You know Vince Vaughn, as a high school student and serial killer, respectively, except that due to, well, reasons, they end up swapping bodies, a la Freaky Friday, and we get to enjoy Vince acting like a teenage girl and Catherine as a bloodthirsty brute called the Blissfield Butcher. Honestly, it is a lot of fun. Press play, regret nothing. Also want to mention Ben Wheatley, Alice Lowe and Steve Orum's Sightseers for something distinctly darker and bleaker, or if you're feeling a bit more cool club, there's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And I'll stop with the comedy horror comedies now. So, you'd actually like to be scared, so here is an actually scary film that I feel personally not enough people have seen. Although maybe you have seen it, in which case, well done you. This is an A24 film, which means that if you like it, you are cool. It's called Talk to Me, and the premise is this. There's a severed hand that gives people the power to contact the dead, with a deceased person taking over your body, to be clear, but if you leave them inside you for more than 90 seconds, the spirit will bind themselves to you. It makes for a really fun party game, until it isn't a really fun party game, when it really is not a fun party game. Here's why I love the movie. It has a proper emotional core, delivered incredibly well by the utterly gifted Sophie Wilde, though the whole cast is great, notably Joe Bird. It has a great central conceit, really interesting direction from the very young and very talented Danny and Michael Philippou, aka Raka Raka, who I'd really like to see more of, and quick, not forgetting the deliciously icky practical effects, the brilliant sound design, and a very neat ending, which I'll say no more about. Sophie Wilde, though, she is really amazing. Keep an eye on her, seriously. I have a bunch of other recommendations here for this second option, and I'm just going to list them. Don't Breathe, Train to Busan, Green Room, Your Next Barbarian. There is no connection there. You may well have seen some. Please enjoy. Okay, number 3. Here is a mind-bending brain melter that I love talking about, The Endless. This is quite quickly going to become a paean about the brilliance of writer, director, producer, actors Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who since their work creating the likes of The Endless, Resolution and Synchronic, all set within the same creative universe, have gone on to work with Marvel of late, with Moon Knight, Loki and now Daredevil Born Again, not forgetting Jordan Peele's short-lived Twilight Zone series. But anyway, The Endless. This is a head trip, this one. Brothers Justin and Aaron Smith, Justin and Aaron themselves, are sent a VHS from Camp Arcadia, a youth group they went to as kids. Only the two of them remember their time there very differently. Whilst Aaron remembers it as a friendly commune experience, Justin would call it a UFO death cult. Yeah. So the pair head back and things remain oddly similar to years prior. Then, without giving too much away, things get really wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, invisible entity E, and man, it is just so good. And proof that if you have amazing ideas and a real gift at direction, so much can be done with so little, resulting in a David Lynchian, Lovecraftian, demands to be rewatched classic that, okay, I'll call it a cult classic. It's a cult classic. The Endless. Don't miss it. Also, speaking of cult classics, if you've never seen Lake Mungo, everyone's favourite Aussie found footage docufiction ghost story, yes, you heard that correctly, make time for it. I really wish writer-director Joel Anderson would do more, but I guess we'll always have Lake Mungo, the pseudo-documentary about two parents discovering that the loss of their daughter may involve something supernatural. Put away your phones and turn off the big light for this one, trust me. Whilst I'm banging the drum for a pair of gifted directors, I should also probably take the time to praise the exceptionally talented solo artist Mike Flanagan of, amongst other things, Hush, Before I Wake, The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, The Midnight Club, The Fall of the House of Usher, Fame. My next recommendation, Oculus. This is a story with two parallel plot lines, both centering around an antique looking glass that causes hallucinations and can leave its victims in a psychotic frenzy, which is never ideal when you're trying to decorate your new home. There's a certain ringishness to this one plot-wise, with Flanagan expanding upon his original short Oculus Chapter 3, The Man with a Plan, going from one actor in one room with one mirror into a much bigger story with a bigger cast, including Katie Sackhoff and our very own Karen Gillan. It is well shot, clever, and very much emphasises a sense of dread rather than buckets of blood. This isn't a horror movie for everyone, but it is for me, and if you like it, I like you. Ooh, I also want to mention that he's got a new movie coming out, Mike Flanagan, called The Life of Chuck, which is based on a Stephen King story, so look out for that one. Time now for a proper classic, and it's not Alien or Misery or Halloween or, I don't know, Nosferatu. Oh, okay, let's chuck in A Nightmare on Elm Street as well. Or The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. No, this is a genuine mega classic that you may not have seen and may not have even heard of. I'll just stop and say the words Les Diaboliques and then let you be impressed with my French accent. Or not, as the case may be. Also known as just Diabolique, this 1955 black and white thriller horror is up there with Psycho because, well, it inspired Hitchcock's seminal slasher, with the writer behind the original Psycho novel directly citing Henri-Georges Clouzot and his classic of classics as direct inspiration for Hitch's masterpiece. To boil it down terribly, this thriller horror mystery centres around a woman conspiring with her husband's mistress to kill him, a loathable brute who runs a boarding school in suburban Paris. A bath is involved, a swimming pool, a wicker basket. It's just utterly excellent. The darks of the black and white just, well, popping. Truly, if it's passed you by, fill in this gap in your horror resume and be that guy at the pub twiddling your proverbial moustache as you say, the French just do it better. Finally, my sixth pick is Bone Tomahawk, a star-studded indie, Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, Richard Jenkins, David Arquette, that looks like a rescue adventure western but ends up delivering one of the most merciless and brutal on-screen kills I've ever seen, thanks to some cave-dwelling cannibals. It's rough old stuff, but you've got to the end of this video, so you deserve a treat. It is a treat, trust me. It's absolutely horrid, but you have been warned, and it is Halloween. Anyway, please do leave your comments below. I know you've got a lot of thoughts, I don't blame you, but please be nice. And remember, please be terrified responsibly this Halloween.